Hello, everybody. I'm Richard Sher, and welcome to another Square Off. It's going to be an exciting show. Let's meet this week's panel.
I'm Tonya Banya.
I'm Andrew Langer.
I'm Jim Astrachan.
I'm Shannon Wright.
And I'm Richard Sher. Let's get to it. For Maryland Governor Wes Moore, his week included a snub from President Trump, who uninvited Moore to the bipartisan dinner of the nation's governors' conference coming up at the White House. Moore and Trump, as you well know, have been trading barbs for months. Remember that Moore invited Trump to tour the Baltimore City with him? The president saying he wouldn't come near Baltimore until violent crime is under control. Moore sees the uninvite possibly racist in nature, saying, quote, as the nation goes, and as the nation's only Black governor, I cannot ignore that being singled out from this bipartisan tradition carries added weight, whether or not it was the intent. Reverend Shannon Wright, let's kick this off.
Okay, so if you say you're the only Black governor, then if you're uninvited, it would have to be single. It can't be plural if you're the only one. That's number one. Number two, he was not the only one uninvited or not invited. The governor of Colorado also was not invited.
That is correct.
So to say, one, that it's racially motivated if you're the only one and you're singled out, okay, cute. Two, you're not the only one. You're not that special. Three, when you keep making it your business to climb the political ladder based on how much you attack and send barbs to the president of the United States and then put your hand out asking for money after you done cussed the man, quite honestly, if I'm elected, I'm going to take care of the folks I need to take care of, but I'll be doggone if I'm gonna sit there and break bread with you and you know you don't like me and I don't like you. It seems hypocritical to me to want to be in what is his house for the next 3 years, knowing how you feel about him. Why would you do that except for to take another step on your personal political ladder while the residents of Maryland suffer?
Somebody speak. Jimmy.
Well, yes, I'll jump in. I think that the problem with what Shannon just said is that Paulus is the other governor who's been excluded. He is also the only gay governor. So now we have a Black person, we have a gay person being excluded from the White House. The Black person's being excluded within a week after Trump ran that really critical Obama-Simeon tape. And if you want to talk about people who are critical of the president who have been invited, look at Gavin Newsom. How do you explain Gavin Newsom, who is after the president almost every single day on social media, still being included, but for the fact that he's white? That's absolutely racist, in my opinion.
Andrew.
Yeah, listen. I don't think it's. I don't think it's racist. I think it's a matter of sort of Trump not wanting to have Wes Moore going to the White House. But at the end of the day, one wonders why Wes Moore agreed to go, or why Wes Moore is fighting so hard to go to the White House when Trump is president of the United States, and why Gavin Newsom would have accepted the invitation. Why any of these governors who have called Donald Trump everything under the sun, why they would be accepting this. I mean, listen, it's politics. People are going to make great hay over all kinds of things. Obviously, Wes Moore getting ready to run for president is going to use this as a grist for the mill. But I think this is nothing more than a tempest in the teapot.
Bana.
Yeah, I agree and disagree with a lot of what's been said. At the end of the day, Shannon, you're absolutely right. You can't say you were singled out when you weren't the only person excluded. Clearly, he wasn't singled out. At the same time, the fact that the two people who were excluded are people who, we have reason to believe the president may be discriminating against. The fact that the president has not articulated a legitimate reason, the fact that he's included people who have ridden his ass a lot harder than these two gentlemen, certainly raises an inference of discriminatory animus. And in the absence of a legitimate explanation, it's fair to suspect that that's the reason. At the same time, Shannon, this is not Donald Trump's private residence. It's not Mar-a-Lago. It's the people's house. It's the White House. And I disagree with you, Andrew, that this is just politics. When you are a politician, you represent the people, all of the people, whether or not you like them or happen to agree with their politics. This is an opportunity for the president to caucus with and interact with all of the governors, and historically, it's an event that has been extended to and included all governors, irrespective of their political affiliation. And part of the problem right now is that we are too accepting of a climate and a dynamic where we can just not talk to people who are, in fact, professional colleagues who we have an obligation to interact with in order to properly serve our constituents. So I do think it's a big deal. But I also think, lastly, it's another unforced error for Wes Moore. He needs to hire some professionals to handle his messaging, because for him to call it racist when, the optics of it do not, at least initially, support that, undermines his credibility again.
Well, Moore went on to say, quote, "My peers, both Democrats and Republicans, selected me as vice chair of the National Governors Conference. Another reason why it's hard not to see this decision as an example of blatant disrespect." What do you think?
Well, listen, I think it was absolutely disrespectful, and I'm someone who takes as a core value the idea of reaching across the aisle and talking to folks you disagree with. That being said, this is nothing new from this president, who can be incredibly petty and incredibly petulant when it comes to political rivalries. That being said, at the end of the day, I dispute wholly that Jared Polis would have been disinvited because he's gay, given the number of LGBTQIA individuals who have been a part of this administration, including the Secretary of the Treasury. So the idea that somehow this president is homophobic in some way, and that's why Jared Polis wasn't invited, is ridiculous on its face.
Andrew, let me just jump in for a second and say that Polis, in Trump's opinion, has unfairly incarcerated in solitary confinement a 73-year-old cancer-stricken woman for attempting to fight Democratic voter fraud. I just wanted to add that. Go on, Andrew.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, I think that just sort of gets into this. I just discount entirely the idea that Trump didn't invite Wes Moore and Jared Polis because of some kind of bigotry, as opposed to just being petty. And now I'm not sure that that's any better or worse, but I mean, let's be fair here.
Tonya, your point.
Just say that as a matter of basic social science research and the law, you're flat out wrong. The law recognizes that people can discriminate against a group and, on the one hand, hire certain people, and on the other hand, treat other people unfavorably. It's far more complicated than simply, do you always treat Black people badly, or do you sometimes treat them okay? That's not how it works. So the law recognizes that it's more complicated and nuanced than that. Do I think the fact that I think Donald Trump is triggered particularly by a Black man who tries to troll him is reflective of a racial bias. The fact that he can have Gavin Newsom come to his house and sit across the table from him and can tolerate being harassed and trolled on social media by Gavin Newsom more readily than he can when Wes Moore clumsily tries to do it is reflective of bias. So this is not that, and the law recognizes that.
What does the law recognizing sort of systemic racism and bigotry have anything to do with the president deciding to not invite Jared Polis to the White House? That's a ridiculous claim, Tonya.
It's not. It's a recognition of the reality that people are more complicated than that.
You know something? You get on me for interrupting.
Wait, Tonya, hold on.
You get on me for interrupting you on the airwaves when you're the one who does it. So I'm not going to tolerate it today. And my not tolerating it is somehow indicative that I am somehow a misogynist. I just don't like it when you're doing it. That's the point that I'm making, is that the law can recognize X, right, without it being Y in this particular case.
Love the way you.
Go ahead, Shannon.
So obviously, this is a topic that evokes a lot of emotion on all sides. The reality is this. Governor Wes Moore allowed himself to get into a political battle that he should not have been in. On election night, when Governor Newsom called out Maryland and Westmore specifically. Those two are the ones that are angling and positioning for the Democratic primary for the next presidential cycle. So the fact that the two of them are going at it and pulling all of their states in is indicative of their own egos and character. Now, as far as the president, I don't see this as a race issue. I see this as a you talking too much crap issue. I know for myself as a person, if I can agree with you on an issue, but I don't like the way that you address me or the interaction or the behind the back stabbing or the would-be church pulpit theatrics that keep our name out your mouth, then I'm gonna keep your name off the checkbook too.
Jim.
So can I just say, first,
Hold on, Tonya, one sec. Want to hear from Jimmy, then we'll get back to.
Yeah, I'm sticking to my guns. I think the man is a racist. He's always been a racist. His history is being a racist. Nobody in their right mind would have ever broadcast that video of the Obamas on the body of apes. And then within the same week, he excludes a black man. So you have that incident, which is clearly a racist incident, or worse than a racist incident.
Should we be outraged over Schumer as the baboon?
Let me finish, please. May I do that? So you have that incident that was clearly a racist incident, followed by an exclusion of a black man and a gay man. And I think that what he's doing, and it's my opinion, is that he is playing to his MAGA base, showing them that he can be as much a racist as they want him to be.
Okay.
All right, Shannon, go ahead.
Come on now. As long as, listen, for almost 6 decades now, I've been black. I've also been a woman, and I've also been to the White House in the first administration and since. Now, so your perception that the man is racist based on what you hear or see or read is one thing, but from personal interactions, okay, and seeing these different things from a political level, I'm not seeing this as racist. I am seeing this as a political maneuvering between Westmore and President Trump. That's what we were talking about. But as far as that video, I do not see the outrage. And where is your outrage, I might ask, for Chuck Schumer being portrayed as a baboon, which is also in the.
We're going to get into this topic next, but let's hear from Tonya before we go to a break.
Really quickly, Andrew, you were right to call me out for interrupting you. I apologize. I don't think you're a misogynist, and I don't believe I accused you of that.
No.
I do agree with you that, for Wes Moore to claim that he was pained and hurt is ridiculous. If it's real, if he really feels that way, he should get a therapist. But I don't believe it's real. I believe it's political theater. And the better approach would have been to rally the governors, all of them, irrespective of partisan affiliation, to say, we're not going to go. If you exclude any of us, none of us are going to come. That would have been a showing of leadership and coalition building. It's another missed opportunity by Wes Moore, and I think more proof that he is not really ready for prime time. And so this, he does most of this, I think, because he wants to run for the presidency, and he's not ready.
Amen.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from Howard, the voice of Square Off. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to that tape. The tape, we call it the ape tapes. We'll be back in just a moment. Howard.
Hey, Richard. If you're experiencing any kind of foot pain that
We cannot
requires
see you, Howard.
Pardon me? You cannot see me.
I see the Square Off logo. Ladies
How
and
about
gentlemen,
now?
there
How
he
about
is.
now? There
A
he
living
is.
logo. Go on.
If you're experiencing any kind of foot pain that requires medical attention, I recommend Dr. Kelly Gagan. She's a well-respected, board-certified podiatrist and heel specialist. No one is immune from foot problems, and if your concern is the appearance of your feet, Dr. Gagan has a long record of success using laser treatments to correct your issue. Plus, they're safe, painless, and go right to the root of the problem. You can believe me. I'm a cured patient, so is Richard. So don't suffer from the agony of defeat. Start winning with a call to Dr. Gagan at 410-753-4422 to set up an appointment. That's 410-753-4422. Pappas Restaurant and sports bars are synonymous with the best crab cake, you'll ever taste. But there's a lot more to the Pappas menu, a whole lot of specialty dishes you won't find anywhere else. So for fine dining, special occasions, or just watching sports, Pappas should be your number one choice. That's why Oprah put the Pappas crab cake on her favorite things list. And Pappas ships their crab cakes all over the country with 4 locations in Parkville, Cockeysville, Glen Burnie, and Bel Air. I guarantee you'll be a Pappas regular once you get there. You know, if you or a family member has experienced personal injury, medical malpractice, or nursing home neglect, it's time to call the law firm of Barry Glazer. He has a legal team and resources to go after the big insurance companies to get you every penny he can. And with an in-house medical doctor and nurse, his attorneys work on the toughest and most complex medical malpractice cases. Barry Glazer is your best advocate for the injured, disabled, and medically abused. So give Barry Glazer a call at 410-547-8568. Let him know you heard about him on Sparrow. And back to you, Richard.
All right, Howard. President Trump igniting outrage during Black History Month after posting, as Jim Astrachan was pointing to, posted a video on his Truth social site depicting President Barack and First Lady Michelle Obama as apes. Imagery, says historians, rooted in centuries-old efforts to dehumanize the Black people. How about you, Shannon? You seem to want to respond to that.
Well, now, if following that logic, I should be offended that you called on me first. But being that that is not the case, I understand the outrage. I'm going to say this as carefully as I can. I understand the outrage over the Obamas being depicted as monkeys. But what I don't understand is where the outrage is missing from how Schumer was depicted. So what I'm saying is this. If we really want to get rid of racism, we have to ratchet down some of the sensitivity as well. Now, I'm saying this as a Black woman who's been through some seriously racist issues. This is cultural and racial insensitivity. Everybody in there was depicted as an animal of some sort. And again, if we're looking at the insult being those that were depicted as primaries, where is the outrage for Chuck Schumer?
Right. Okay. It's a fair point. Go ahead, Tonya.
I've not seen this video. Like, I'm guessing that the video includes a number of Democrat politicians depicted as animals. Is that correct?
Yes.
I mean,
right. And Donald Trump is depicted as the king of the jungle.
Yes.
Right. So, look, at the end of the day, if in fact, I understand that the Trump administration messaging on this has been that they didn't realize, I guess what was at the end of whatever was shared from the president's account. If in fact that's true, then why not apologize? If I accidentally do something that's offensive to other people that I have an ongoing business, relationship with, I'm going to apologize, or, personal relationship for that matter. I'm going to apologize and try not to do it again. That's what you do when you make a mistake. I think the fact that the president has not done that and has refused to do it, to Jim's point, I think this was done for the base. This was that they knew it was there. They knew that it would be titillating to the racist contingent of the Trump base to be able to share screenshots of the Obamas depicted as monkeys. And I think that's why this was done. And that's wrong and not just petty. It's really antithetical to an executive in any leadership position.
Andrew, as you probably know, on Air Force One, the reporters asked President Trump if he was going to apologize. He said he has nothing to apologize for.
Right.
First of all, he said this 1-minute clip, which ran for 10 hours, by the way, before it was taken down, he said that it was somebody else who did it, and he didn't
it's always
see
somebody
it.
else.
Yeah, what did you think about that?
Well, listen, I'm gonna say two things that are uncharacteristic of me. Number one, Tonya was just talking about unforced errors with Westmore, and she was absolutely right. And this was a massive unforced error on the part of the White House. And Tonya true to what she said, makes a mistake and she apologizes for it. And that's the way you go about doing it. That's what should have been done. You know, staff incompetence. And I'm a big fan of something called Hanlon's razor. Never attribute to malice that which can just as easily be attributed to stupidity. And there's a corollary to that called Gray's Law, which is repeated incompetence is virtually indistinguishable from malice. So the reality is it may have been incompetence, but that doesn't change the fact that it didn't and shouldn't have merited an apology, even if it was a bunch of animals and a bunch of Democrats with animals. I get memes. This is the problem that we have with the meme generation and trying to make something go viral is that you say things and do things that are just stupid in the end.
Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything incompetent or unintentional about this. There's a concept called dehumanizing propaganda. Richard, you just referred to it a moment ago. It's where somebody who thinks they're superior uses propaganda to make people become less than human beings so that they are going to be capable of having genocide engaged in or some sort of deprivation of civil rights. Trump has called undocumented immigrants animals. He has, the Hitler was calling Jews vermin. The Hutus were calling the Tutsis cockroaches. And now what he's doing is he is intentionally dehumanizing Black people. I don't know what his reasons are. I do believe he's a racist. I do believe he's playing to his base. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw this building, as far as what his future actions are going to be. But what I do see is something that is far worse than racism in the fact that he is intentionally dehumanizing people, making them less than human in the eyes of a lot of people. And he will not apologize for it, meaning to me, it was intentional, and he said he has nothing to apologize for.
Right, Jim, that's the problem is that the othering, and I'm not a big fan of whataboutism. I'm not a big fan of whataboutism at all. But the reality is we are in a climate in which both sides are engaging in massive amounts of dehumanization. And again, to go back to Tonya's point, right, which is this idea of using the opportunity of Westmore being uninvited as a rallying cry. Let's take a step back. Let's use this as an opportunity to actually engage with people on the other side separately from these things. But the reality is,
both sides are engaging in dehumanizing. I do not know where the Democrats, which would be the other side.
Hold on, Jim. For Trump's first term, we had all of this talk about it being okay to go out and punch Nazis, right? And Republicans or Trump supporters are Nazis. And lo and behold, when violence has started to be engaged in against Trump supporters, we wind up being all kinds of surprised. I have these conversations. Hold on, Jim. I have these conversations with colleagues at WBAL all the time.
Stop interrupting each other, please. Thank you.
Sorry, this is the reality is, yeah, there has been a lot of othering of conservatives and Republicans and Trump supporters.
Calling somebody a Nazi is not dehumanizing that person. You're still recognizing that person as a human being, even though you may be saying that person has views that are outrageous views. But calling somebody vermin, calling somebody an animal, calling somebody, depicting somebody as an ape is placing them below the human level, and it desensitizes people to the sort of treatment that you may be giving those people in the future. That's exactly what happened in Germany. It's what happened in Rwanda.
Stop. Hold it, Andrew. Sure. Shannon has been very patient.
I'm trying. And again, I appreciate the empathetic outrage on behalf of Black people. That's cute. But as a Black people, I can tell you that there's a difference between perceived racism and actual racism. And there's also another category of racial insensitivity, and as Jim said earlier, plain stupid. Now, what you want to categorize as completely racist, I'm telling you, has more of its root in cultural insensitivity and stupid. Now, you can't fix stupid. You can try, but cultural insensitivity is something we can fix. Right. And if in the spirit of Black History Month, we actually want to ratchet down some of this, we have to stop using some of those inflammatory words and maybe just look at somebody and say, oh, that's special, you cute. You need a little cultural sensitivity training. Let's not look at everybody as the enemy or the boogeyman. Let's
Right,
try
all right, go ahead, Tonya.
call them out.
And in that vein, let's not pretend that Shannon can speak for all Black people. I, for one, completely disagree with everything she just said. And contrary to some people's beliefs, I am, in fact, a Black woman. Jim, I don't think that you are wrong to call out the dehumanization that's been happening. I do think it is a strategy, and it's concerning. And there is a difference between, the hypocrisy that I do think exists on both sides. And a deliberate campaign to dehumanize people by depicting them in ways that are contrary to their fundamental humanity. I am concerned about why there does appear to be this concerted campaign of that nature. I think it speaks to an authoritarian approach that is trying to normalize the violation of civil rights. And I think that's why, if you look at the statistics now, we've had dozens of American citizens who've had their civil rights violated by being detained and taken into custody by ICE agents who have absolutely no authority to be policing American citizens for walking down the street. So I am concerned about what that speaks to. I will say something that maybe is controversial. I don't believe this is Donald Trump's agenda. I don't believe that he's the architect of this. And that's what's even more concerning to me, is that there are people behind the
For
scenes.
just a moment. Hold it, everybody. Great discussion. You guys are doing a wonderful square off here at squareoff.net. Here's Howard once again.
Hey, Richard. You know, with so many cars on the road and distracted drivers everywhere, auto accidents are going to happen. And if you've experienced an accident, the insurance companies cannot tell you where to take your car. That's why more and more drivers are trusting their auto repairs and maintenance to leading edge auto body and mechanical repair. They work on all makes and models and offer free pickup and delivery anywhere in the Baltimore area. So give them a call at 410-443-6433 or visit them at 5807 Falls Road in Mount Washington. They make your car look and run like new again. And you know, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, your choice for a great meal starts at the Double T Diner. And all the menu choices are served the entire day. The Double T Diner has locations all over town: Route 40 West, Perry Hall, White Marsh, Bel Air, Laurel, Annapolis, Pasadena, and the EC Diner in Ellicott City. You've never seen a menu with so many selections. It's why the Double T Diner wins so many reader polls year after year. And Monday nights are lobster night at By the Docks, which is part of the Double T family. So give them a shot. Go there, enjoy lunch, dinner, have a great meal. Let them know you heard about them on Square Off. Now back to you, Richard.
All right, listen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get away from the very serious stuff, because I want to ask you guys, first of all, congratulations to all of you and to all of you watching here on Square Off, and our audience continues to grow thanks to you. Oh, by the way, Howard, who's our executive producer, and I, we want to start reading some of your letters and emails on the air. We get a lot of them. So we've made it very easy for you to do. Go to squareoff.net, like you do to see the show, and click here, and then you'll have an opportunity to send us your opinions about our panelists, our topics, whatever's on your mind. Let's start to do that right away. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. All of you have survived the coldest 2 weeks of below freezing cold, snow, ice, impassable streets, snow that was almost impossible to shovel, your outages, your dead plants, your shivering pets, so much more. I know, Tonya, you got the dogs. Jim, what do you think of the way things were handled?
You talking about the snowstorm?
Yeah.
Well, down here in Anne Arundel County, they did a great job. But I have seen pictures of huge mounds of snow in the city. I'm not going to second guess the Department of Public Works. Getting through some of those back streets and moving snow is a very difficult thing to do with parking, and it's extremely expensive. I really don't know what to tell you, Richard. I'm not in the city. I've driven to the city, of course, since that time. And I think they're doing what they can do.
Tonya, you're here. What do you think?
Yeah, as you might not expect, I actually am willing to give the Scott administration, I am in the city, a bit of a pass on this. I think that while the amount of the snowfall was not necessarily unprecedented, the way that the freezing rain and everything came together, I mean, it was like concrete out there. And so the city proposes unique challenges because of the confined spaces and narrow streets, and really is in many areas no place to put the snow. So I do think there are aspects that were mishandled, but overall, I'm not willing to blame the Scott administration for its some people have been very vocal in criticizing Brandon Scott, and I'm not going to do that.
Andrew, have you ever been that cold?
Well, have I ever been that cold? Yes. I mean, I've been to Russia, so yeah, I've been that cold. But at the end of the day, it's so fascinating given the public policy choices, because I'll never forget 15 years ago testifying in Annapolis when they were starting to consider switching over from road salt to mandating non-salt alternatives to de-icing the roads, and I gave some warnings then. And the grand irony is that Virginia is now, 15 years later, not having learned the lessons that other states have learned, Virginia is going down this road of trying to get rid of road salt. Listen, at the end of the day, yeah, some of this is a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, I'm watching DC and the problems that they've had just getting streets cleared. Alexandria, Virginia, where my office is, they are now doing it block by block, and it seems to be taking much, much longer than it should, just because anyway, just moving
it's heavier,
stuff.
it's messier, it's colder.
Yeah, no, listen, at the end of the day, this shows the problems that we have in America when we have these crises hit.
Shannon, were you shoveled?
Oh, I don't do that.
Not you. No, I wouldn't want you. You would disappear if you shoveled that stuff.
The time for that has come and gone, my friend. I will say, I think there are plenty of other things that I will agree with Tonya. Let's put it that way. I think there are plenty of other things to attack the Scott administration on. The snow removal is, though, not one of them. I think he could have moved a little bit quicker with the ice melting devices that they brought in and took out of mothballs to use. I think that could have been remedied a little faster by reaching out to some of his mayoral counterparts in some of the northern more areas and seeing and having a plan for being able to deal with it. But all in all, I can't really fault him for something that, fell out the sky.
All right, we've run over, but I want Tonya just to comment on her quote that she posted. This morning, one of our neighbors was taken away in an ambulance. I realized that we lived here for 6 years and we know nothing at all about them, except that they are older than us. I need to do better. I think we all need to do better, Tonya. Take 30 seconds, if you will, and then we'll have to say goodbye.
Yeah, we're in a neighborhood that is not a particularly community-oriented, kind of social gathering-oriented neighborhood. And my husband and I moved to the city because we wanted to find our community and our people, but we just kind of settled into this siloed existence. And just happening to see the neighbor being taken out reminded me of that. And the next time I see them, I'm going to make it a point to introduce myself and make sure they know. I don't know if they have family members nearby or not, but we're here, and they can call on us anytime if they need help or if they just want to have a cocktail or mocktail. I think that would actually help all of us in terms of the political rancor that exists right now. We need to get back to meeting people in person and interacting with each other in person. I think that would help us all a lot.
Very good. Good point to end on, Tonya. Yes, it is. Hey, don't forget, go to squareoff.net, click where it says click here, and send us your thoughts, feelings about our panelists. Who do you like? Who don't you like? We're going to read these on the air eventually. Thank you all so much. We hope you'll be careful. Stay safe. And thank you, Tonya. Thank you, Andrew. Jim, thank you. And Reverend Wright for Baltimore. We'll see you next time. And once again, we square off I'm Richard Sher. Goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye.